Has this ever happened to you? You get a word problem on a test, and you just don't get it. So you raise your hand, and your instructor comes over. You show them the problem you don't understand, and they don't tell you the answer. Instead, they just read the problem out loud to you. And now, you get it. What's happening here? This is a sign you need to slow down and make sure you're actually reading the whole problem. Make sure you don't skip any words, because in word problems, sometimes a single word can change the meaning and change your answer. If you want to solve a word problem, you're going to have to read the words. That's pretty much a given. But you'd be surprised how often students forget how important it is. We're so used to skimming and getting the gist of something, but you really can't do that when you solve word problems. This basic skill, reading, is one of 8 different skills you use when you work on these kinds of problems. Word problems are made up of multiple kinds of tasks: reading, comprehension, identifying knowns and unknowns, recognizing what is being asked, identifying anything extraneous, any extra information not needed, translating words into math language, going from English words to math expressions with numbers and variables and math symbols, setting up equations, these are the relationships between the knowns and unknowns, and then finally, solving the math problem, sometimes more than one. That's why word problems are so much more difficult than the stripped-down math exercises you solve in your textbook, where there are just numbers and letters. You can #learn more about these 8 essential skills in our new book, How to Solve Word Problems. Find the link below. Now, let's put this first essential skill into practice by carefully reading this problem about reading. Matilda is participating in a speed reading competition. In the first round, she reads a 300-page book in 2 hours and 45 minutes. In the second round, the book she reads has 500 pages, but she finishes it in just 3 hours. 1. Calculate Matilda's reading speed in pages per minute for each round. 2. If the third round requires her to read a 400-page book, how long will it take her to finish if her reading speed is the average of her speed in the first 2 rounds? You might recognize this as a rate problem. These kinds of problems usually involve time, distance, and speed. Often, speeds are measured in kilometers per hour or miles per hour, but this is a problem about reading speed, so the units are usually words per minute or pages per minute. In most rate problems, we use the formula speed equals distance over time. We're so familiar with this formula that we barely think of it as a formula. We just know that speed is this combination of how long of a distance and how long it takes you to cover that distance. So let's write the same kind of formula, but instead of the speed of travel, we're talking about the speed of reading. Reading speed equals the length of the material divided by how long it takes you to read it. Here, we want it in pages per minute. Anytime you see a problem that involves units, there's a good chance it will involve unit conversions. So be sure to include units as you write out your work, and make sure your units cancel properly, leaving you with the units you want in your final answer. For the first question, the units we want are pages per minute, so let's write that in our answer. We know the first book is 300 pages, and we'll divide it by how many minutes Matilda spent reading it to get the final answer, her reading rate, in pages per minute. So we do have a conversion we need to do here. We know how long Matilda read was 2 hours and 45 minutes, but we need that in just minutes. There are 2 hours plus 45 minutes. We know the conversion factor. There are 60 minutes per hour. To convert 2 hours to minutes, we multiply by the conversion factor 60 minutes over 1 hour. Hours cancel, giving us 120 minutes. Remember, the total was actually 2 hours 45 minutes, So we'll add on 45 minutes to get 165 minutes. Now let's plug that into our reading speed formula. 300 pages divided by 165 minutes equals 1.82 pages per minute in round 1. Let's do the same thing for round 2. Matilda spent 3 hours reading a 500-page book. Let's first convert the time she spent reading from hours to minutes. 3 hours times the conversion factor, 60 minutes per 1 hour. Hours cancel, giving us 180 minutes. Now let's plug that time into our reading speed formula. 500 pages divided by 180 minutes equals 2.78 pages per minute in round 2. Now let's turn to part 2. This is one of those cases where you have to be careful what you're being asked to do, which, remember, is another one of those 8 skills you need when you're solving word problems. Here, you have to first find Matilda's speed, which we're told is the average speed of the first 2 rounds of the contest, and then use that speed to figure out how long she takes. We'll be able to do that using the same reading speed formula. First, let's find her reading speed in round 3. To find an average, you add up all the numbers and then divide by how many numbers there are. So we will add together the 2 speeds and then divide by the number of speeds. 2. 1.82 plus 2.78 divided by 2 equals 4.6 divided by 2 equals 2.3 pages per minute. Don't forget your units. We're not finished yet. We need to find out how long it takes Matilda to read 400 pages at this speed. I mentioned we will use our same reading speed formula to answer this question. Reading speed equals length of the material divided by how long it takes you to read it. It's always a good idea to write your general formula first, before you start plugging in numbers. This lets your instructor know what you're thinking. That's what they mean when they say show your work. This way, even if you write some numbers wrong, or type in a number wrong into your calculator, they know that you know this is the right way to solve the problem. So now let's plug in numbers into our formula. 2.3 pages per minute equals 400 pages over t minutes. We want to solve for t. We can cross multiply and get 2.3 pages per minute times t minutes equals 400 pages. Divide both sides by 2.3 to get t minutes equals 400 divided by 2.3 equals 173.9 minutes. As a challenge, I'll ask you to convert that into hours and minutes. If you want to really level up your skills solving word problems, remember, I wrote a book for you, How to Solve Word Problems. You'll learn about the 8 essential skills, and you'll practice those skills. Find the link below.